welcome back to Devils United. Earlier than usual. Yes, I've been an early bird for once. But back with a player profile, this time doing Brandon Williams. We have got Jacob today. Jacob, how are you?
Yeah, really good, thank you. Like I was just saying off screen, difficult to talk about Norwich a little bit because we've had a troubling season, but this one's a good one because Brandon was, very solid throughout the whole season. So, kind of looking forward to giving you a bit more detail and telling you a little bit more about how he's been and all that really this season.
I'm looking forward to hearing more about him as well. Just want to say hello there to Jack and Doug, who's in the chat. I hope you are both well. Thank you for tuning in. So we'll start off with Brandon Williams, of course. How for you has he been this season? Because I know you did mention off there, he actually did have the third highest votes for play of the season for Norwich.
Yeah, yeah, he was really solid all in all. It was kind of a tricky one because he came in at a time when we were a bit unsure about the kind of left back position and who was going to be playing now. Our normal left back Dimitri's got hooked a couple of times against some of the better teams, and Brandon came in and was pretty solid to be fair. And throughout the whole season, he's kind of shown his real commitment levels, and he is very aggressive in the challenge. I'm sure you guys know that because he played obviously a few times for you before. But yeah, he's one that's fully committed and will give 110% no matter who he's playing for. And the fans enjoyed that. Like you say, finished third in the player of the season. Then, had a solid season all in all. I think there's bits he can improve on, bits he can definitely kind of develop. But for a first Premier League loan, he was good. He was definitely a good addition compared to some of the others we had.
Yeah, I know you had a couple of loanees, didn't you, this season? Would you say probably that he was the standout loanee? Because I know you had like Billy Gilmore as well from Chelsea.
Yeah, I think you could tell that Brandon had played Premier League football before. With Billy, it was he's quite small, was really lacking that physicality, and playing in the middle of the pitch, he was not the player that Norwich needed. But Brandon was. He kind of showed exactly why he's kind of was touted for a Premier League move before with Southampton and all those sort of teams. I think he could definitely. He showed that he's a Premier League level defender. I think he can, like I say, improve on things. I don't think he's Man U level. Yeah, I think another loan would definitely do him the world of good and really kind of find out what position he is, because watching him at left back, he's so right-footed. I think he'd be an even better right back. I think he's just tried to maybe he's seen that right back spot. Be kind of one of those where he was just never going to get in. So was he trying to look at a left back, be a little bit different, be a bit more, kind of stand out that he can play both sides. He can do left back fine. I just think in that right back spot, it would actually suit him a hell of a lot more.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that in terms of his where he plays, because he's always been a left back. Even when he was in the academy, he was a left back there as well. He was actually our captain when he was in the academy. So when he came in, and of course he come in as a left back, there was a couple of times in the Europa League where we put him on the right hand side because he's right footed.
Yeah.
And it's quite weird to have a left back who is right footed, isn't it? But I definitely do think that he would be much better off on the right hand side. And looking at our right hand side spaces, when you look at it, there's actually room there compared to the left back at this moment in time. But from what I'm reading from reports is that we are actually looking at selling him on. I'm not too sure why that potentially is. Maybe Ten Hag isn't a fan, but knowing that he is leaving, would you take him permanently at Norwich?
Unfortunately, I don't think we have the money. And like I said, I think he's much better off in the Premier League than the Championship. I think he sees himself a level above the Championship. Personally, I'd have him back, but I'd look at him now and say he's too developed for a Championship move. Like I say, I think a mid-table team, a Southampton, maybe even a Villa, who are maybe looking to go up in the league, I think he'd be perfect for that kind of club, because you can just tell he thrives on that big occasion. I think if Man U were to sell him, I think he'd be desperate to prove them wrong, and I think he could. I think he just needs to iron out some of his kind of flaws, and he can become a very good right back or left back. I just think just don't think he's ready yet. I think he's another year or two away from being close to really competing from a level of Man U, really.
Yeah, definitely. I do agree with that. You can see that there is something there with Brandon Williams, knowing that he's had European football experience, he's got Premier League experience as well, because he actually got into the squad a little bit for last season and the season before. So it's good to see that a little bit more of him. And when I did see a couple of games, he played in the midfield, if I'm not mistaken. Like one of the games was against Tottenham.
Yeah, I think the way he was playing, we kind of developed it where he's obviously so right-footed. He was kind of coming inside, and our kind of midfielder Kenny McLean, who's left-footed, would sometimes drop left back if that was that. And if United fans watch the goal that we scored against Everton at home, Adam Eder scored. Brandon wins the ball back, right high up the pitch, drives with it, plays a lovely through ball, and Eder finishes. And he did that quite a few times this season. We just lacked a finish or whatever. So whilst there's only one assist to his name, he really was good at that, and that was probably the benefit to having him on that left hand side. He could be quite introverted and just be able to play the through balls with his right foot. He's got definitely an eye for a pass. I just think, like I said, like we're saying, I think on that right side it gives him a little bit more just room, because obviously when you've got a, like you say, a right-footed left back, you'd expect him to still be able to use his left foot quite well, because that's been his position the whole time. But he is so right-footed that you just think, there's flaws there that just make you a little bit narrow across that kind of left-hand side, because normally most left wingers now are also right-footed, so you almost quite predictable in the way you're playing. You don't really go down the line. It's quite easy to shut those kind of passages off. But he's definitely got attributes which he'll be able to kind of flourish it in the future for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree with you. And looking at the way he plays, for you, is he more of a defensive type of fullback, or is he more of an attacking kind of fullback, or is he one that does a bit of both?
I think he really does enjoy going forward. You can tell that. Like, again, keep going back to the left side thing. Yeah. He does obviously have to cut back quite a bit, but I think he doesn't mind that. He's obviously used to that. I'd say he's very aggressive on the front foot. Maybe that's where he's sometimes just that he's got 8 yellow cards in about 26 games this season. It just, when he's going for the ball, he doesn't stop. So he's not like, he doesn't back off. If there's someone there for him to attack, he'll go and try and win that ball. And sometimes it's just a little bit late or whatever. His defensive side he can just improve that. I think there's sometimes over the shoulder, he's lost his man a couple of times, or maybe let his man go past him a little bit too easy because he wants to crunch him. That sometimes leads to a late challenge, but they're only little things. He's very kind of modern day fullback where he's more than happy to back, but he's solid enough defensively. I think that's where he can improve though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. When I obviously watched Brandon Williams, I didn't see too much of him going forward at Man United, to be honest. So to see that he's actually so well at going forward is a great thing, because the fullbacks what we have at Man United, it's either you're so brilliant at going forward, but you're awful at defending, or you're so brilliant at defending and you're awful at going forward, and you've not got a balance. And whereas with him, he's got the balance, and you need to look at that and think he's kind of player that you do not want to sell at this moment in time. You want to at least see what you can do with him, because just as Harry has touched on, even things Brentford or Leeds could be another good shout who could potentially take him on in the Premier League.
Yeah, I agree. I think I don't know how he'd do. I think he enjoyed a bit of stick from the Leeds fans when he was there, obviously for the United connections. He enjoyed that though. You could tell he kind of lives for those moments. If you give him stick, he kind of raises his level. But yeah, those kind of teams who are going to be kind of mid-table-ish and looking more towards kind of really aspiring upwards, I would say is a perfect next move for him. Really, I think he's kind of shown that he can kind of slog it out. He can play with possession. He can play without it. I think he's now for his development, that next level. And then you can kind of see where he's at, because with a team who are expected to win a few more games, dominate the ball a little bit more, you'll be able to really see what he can do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hello there to Chris. I hope you're well, and hello there to Ravi as well. I hope you are well. Ravi has got a question on what skills do you think Brandon will bring to Man United from being at Norwich?
I think as you've probably seen before, he's so passionate in the way he plays. He doesn't leave anything out of that pitch. I think that's why Norwich fans rate him so highly. Like there were errors at times, and because of the way he kind of plays, he is a bit on the edge. And to be honest, I'm surprised he didn't get sent off for us at all this season. There's always that little kind of fine line. But he'll bring 100% passion, and the fans love, especially in England. You can kind of almost forgive the maybe lack of ability at times if they've got that 100% passion, and he will give everything into every game. That's absolutely no shadow of a doubt. And to be honest, I don't think you can say about many United players this season, to be honest.
That is true, and that is something that I always thought about Brandon Williams, is his passion so much. Like, you could tell that he's got such a strong attitude, and not necessarily that's a bad thing, because you love to see that little bit of passion. And just as you've touched on, we are craving that so much, because I can't even remember a player who's had so much passion compared to him. Like, you could see, like, especially in the academy, he was all up for it. Like, I remember him just squaring up to players on the pitch. Don't
yeah, he still does that. He still does that.
Yeah. And Doug has mentioned one here. I love the moment where Williams found Ericsson, was about to fight him, then realised he knew who it was, and he gave him a hug.
Yeah, it was very funny that. I remember it well. It was quite a big game for us. And yeah, to be fair, it was classic Brandon. If someone had fouled him or fouled, I don't know, Miller or Shika, who was in front of him, our left winger, he would make sure he'd target that player and make sure he gives it back as good as he gets it. You know, like he's always one of those. He's from a boxing family, isn't he? So he always knows how to scrap and give it back. Yeah, I think he's done that well, to be fair. Like I say, I was always a bit worried, like, is he kind of that one step away from being, a red card? I think he kind of moulded that pretty well towards the end of the season. There wasn't as many yellow cards, there wasn't as many kind of silly challenges, but yeah, I think he'll always have that side to him. But that's not a bad thing. I don't think he's a liability. I just think that's just the way he plays. He will always be on the edge because he's just so competitive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he definitely is competitive. And reading here, his debut, of course, was against Leicester, which was in August. And for you, what was Brandon Williams' best game and why?
It's a tricky one. There's a few kind of standouts only because of the way he was always on it. Doesn't matter, because you look at Norwich's season, been down quite a lot, lost a lot of games, and you can see a lot of players almost not give up, but just kind of the lack of confidence or the lack of confidence is shown, and it's almost one goal went in and they're against it again. I think he kind of showed, no matter what game it was, no matter what the scoreline was, win, lose, draw, he was always giving that 100%, that effort. Like I said, that Everton game where kind of epitomised perfectly when Brandon's on it. He intercepts it on the halfway line, he runs, he plays the ball through, and that kind of just shows you where that quality is. I think that was lacking at times, maybe because our team was just short of that quality needed for this level. I think, like I say, again, if you saw that in a better team, in a mid-table team, you'd see that those kind of flashes a lot more. But yeah, I'd say in particular that Everton game where he really showed that he's got that quality as well as that passion and that kind of desire to win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I completely agree with you, to be honest. And when you've got that passion, that's something what you do really need in that squad in particular. I know there was issues as well, what was going on with Brandon Williams outside of the pitch with the fans and Instagram and stuff. Did that affect him in terms of how he played for Norwich in particular, or did it just allow him to get stronger in a kind of way?
Yeah, it was a really weird one. It was more towards the end of the season when Norwich had gone down. Again, like you get that every way, shape or form, don't you? In clubs where you get idiot fans who just, I mean, it seems bizarre that someone would follow a footballer no matter where. I just think that's a very rare kind of silly minority. And fair play to him for kind of sticking up for himself. You've got to, haven't you? Some players suffer in silence and just let it happen. I don't think he'll ever be that type of player on the pitch or off the pitch. I don't think he ever held it against Norwich fans. They were always good with him. I think he was always good to us. I think a lot of people appreciate that, no matter, he never seemed like a lone player, never seemed like a player who's itching to leave, desperate, ready to go on to pastures new. He was always giving 100% for that badge, and that's all you can do. That's all you can respect. Like I say, there were little errors and kind of things that he can improve on, but 100%. There's never a question in my mind that he wasn't giving 100% on the football pitch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I do agree with you. And he is definitely that type of player who does always put that 100% in. And when I seen what went on in terms of outside of the pitch, I was so confused because I didn't know anything about the fans at the beginning. And then I seen the Instagram post. I was like, wow, Brandon, what you doing? Like, I was really surprised by him, to be honest, because after watching him for so many years, and he's got a bit of an attitude. I've never seen him to behave that way. And of course, he was upset because he said he felt like one of them. He felt like a player, just as you touched on, that he didn't feel like a lonely player because he was playing as much as a regular first team starter. And the stats proved that he did. He played near enough every single game in the Premier League.
Yeah, like I say, he was keeping out a Greek international and Dimitri Giannoulis at times. Daniel Farker, who got sacked, kind of preferred him before he got sacked. Dean Smith was then using him very regularly as well. I think more towards the back in the last 5-6 games, it was more Giannoulis because we knew Brandon wouldn't be it. That's really the only reason. But yeah, 26 out of 38 games, you've got to say he's played more than majority. And I still do think I'd love to have seen him at right back for Norwich just to see what he could have done at this level, because I think there was at times we could have needed a right back, and rather than two good left backs. So yeah, but it's one of those where he played very well. I think he's come out with probably one of maybe 3 or 4 players who have come out of any credit in the bank, and he'll definitely get a Premier League move this summer if he's not with United.
Mm-hmm. It was Max Aarons, wasn't it, who was playing on the right-hand side, and obviously Brandon on the left. Can Max Aarons also play on the left, so they could have switched it round?
He has done before. I think with Max this season, he's had a bit of a struggle with just kind of with consistency, which is a strange way. To be fair, he's been linked with every club under the sun, and this is probably the first season where we've kind of looked at it and gone, maybe we should have let him go maybe last season, or he took the Championship so easily. It was kind of in second gear for him. This year he's just struggled with a couple of injuries, game time, and then has kind of been displaced for a few games as well. I just don't think he's found that consistency. But yeah, he can do. I just think it was almost Brandon's come in and said he's a left back. I remember reading the Athletic article where he said, "Yeah, I'm a left back. I don't want to play right back," which is interesting, because maybe that's just the way he's been moulded. I don't know, but yeah, I think he's got every opportunity to be able to play both. And to be fair, to have that kind of that ability to play both positions will only stand him in good stead.
Exactly, definitely. When you've got a fullback who can play both, who can do both in terms of attacking and going forward, it helps massively, because a lot of teams really do want that in players these days who can do a bit of everything, who's quite versatile as well. So to have 2 fullbacks, especially at Norwich this season, who could have played both sides, it's really good, to be honest. Really, really good. Hey there to Delboy. I hope you're well. Jack does have a question. What area of the game does William need to improve on, and how does he go about that going into next season?
Yeah, like I say, with being that kind of right footer, if there was a right-footed right winger against him who was kind of going down the line, you'd see Bradland struggle a little bit, because obviously he's going on to Brandon's weaker side. He normally tackles with his right foot, so sometimes that means he's kind of, once a winger goes past him, he's using the wrong foot to tackle with, and that can lead with a yellow card. Sometimes at the back stick, he kind of lost his man a few times, which, again, there are only little things that can be tweaked. And again, it's with game time, really. And to be honest, a better defence. Norwich conceded over 70 goals. So for me to be like, oh, it's all Brandon's fault, that's absolutely not the case. It was just, there was only a couple of tweaks. Sometimes he's a bit sloppy in possession, where, again, that can happen with a young player and, again, playing on the wrong side or different side. He's always wanting to have to come in field. So, and to be fair to him, he always wanted to play that killer pass. It wasn't a safe option, which I enjoyed watching with him. So like the midfield we had at times, it was a bit too many safe options. They were a bit scared in possession. With him, he was always trying to find that killer pass, and always keep going back to that Everton game where it did come off. He's definitely got that ability to be able to go in. And like I say, sometimes a little bit too aggressive, where he wants to win the ball back as high up the pitch as possible, because sometimes just give away silly fouls. But I think he'll learn that. I think he'll always have that slightly in his game. I just think that's the way he is, and a lot of fullbacks do. But yeah, I think there's only little small tweaks to be able to really improve him and get him to a kind of a level where you can go, yes, he's good defensively and good going forwards as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was looking at his stats for this season in the Premier League. He's got a very good tackle success rate, 68%, and that shows based off what you're mentioning. Very good with his clearances as well. He's won more duels than he's lost duels, been successful as well in his 50-50s, not created any own goals or errors leading to goals. I've seen here with his cross accuracy, it is a little bit low with 26%. How is he in terms of his crosses?
Funnily enough, I was just going to mention that with the improvements as well. Thinking about it, because before our kind of new old head coach got sacked, Daniel Farke, we didn't really cross the ball too much. So I'd never be able to tell you a fullback was good or not, because we didn't cross it. With Dean Smith, it was asked a little bit more. Like I say, with being on that left hand side, if he had to use that left foot, to be honest, more often than not, it was going out for a goal kick, because it just wasn't strong enough. That's the side of his game he definitely improved. That left foot and that the crossing, I think is a big next part for his attacking side. So yeah, kind of, a bit more positionally aware defensively, crossing, and that left foot going forwards, and he'll definitely be a better player going forwards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely, because with some crosses as well. You do need some fullbacks can be so good in terms of the crossing. But do you think if he was a right back, his crosses probably would be very good? It's just because of the
he's got the eye for a pass. He's definitely got the eye for a pass. And to be fair, with crossing, it's always difficult when you're on your weaker side. I mean, I think a right back, you'd see a hell of a lot of a better player. I think you'd be able to say yes, he's almost ready. He can attack, he can defend well enough to be able to kind of, and he's got the pace. I just think on that left hand side, he's just restricted, and that will always be the way until he improves that kind of left foot. If he was a two-footed player, he'd be really excellent. I know that's easier said than done, but yeah. I just think there's limitations to him always whilst he'll be on that left-hand side if he's so right-footed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and another thing what I was seeing as well, he came on as a substitute 3 times at Norwich. Is he better as a substitute option or always better as a starting 11 player? Because when we played him, we mostly played him as a substitute option, and when maybe it's because he's had lack of game time, but when we have played him as a substitute, I think he's been quite rusty.
Yeah, I think he'd always give you that impetus. I think no matter what, he'll always be up for the game. So I think if you bring him on, he's almost trying to prove manager, coaches wrong to say that he really should be kind of playing. I think he'll always give that side. To be honest, I think he needs a little bit of time to get into a game. I think, like I say, those kind of stray passes normally happen in the first 10, 15 minutes when he was starting a game. And you can kind of tell that he just needs a little minute to calm down. Because like I say, he does love the atmosphere. He feeds off it. Sometimes it's a little bit too much in the first kind of 10, 15 minutes. I think, to be honest, I'd always kind of back him to start because I think, like I say, he can grow into the game. And second half was usually when he would kind of grow into it and be a lot more confident. But yeah, I would say starting, but I think that's so key for him going forwards. Those strengths and weaknesses he needs to improve on further. He'll only do that with regular starting time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was looking at the game he actually did assist on, and that was against Everton. Who did he assist and what was the assist like? Was it like one of them long through balls? Because I'm reading
So that was the Adam Eder goal, against Everton, where Everton kind of playing it up to the halfway line. Brandon snaps in. The left back, he's kind of almost inverted a little bit. He's not on the touch line. He then just brings it forward, dribbles past a couple, plays through to Adam Eder. It's a lovely pass. He did that on a number of occasions before, and then Adam kind of put it away. It was kind of showing Brandon at his very best. He was aggressive, but he wins the ball rather than gives away a free kick. He then plays the ball, goes perfectly to Adam. That is Brandon Williams in a nutshell, like the perfect kind of summary of his time at Norwich. You watch that goal back, and they're all of his best bits, all of his strengths, all in that one move. To be honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Hey there, Luca. I hope you're well. Thank you for tuning in. In terms of Brandon, if he did come back to Manchester United, I think if he was going to play for us, I think he will probably be playing the beginning of the FA Cup. I think he'll be playing in the Carabao Cup and also the Europa League, depending on, of course, who we do get in the Europa League fixtures. I can't see him playing in the Premier League, especially if Luke Shaw comes back. And I think Telles will be ahead of him as well. But in terms of the right-hand side, Dalot is more favoured as well. But having just the FA Cup, the Europa League and the League Cup, it's not really a lot of game time especially for someone Brandon's age to develop on.
No, 100%. He needs to be playing. He needs to be playing 20+ games again in the Premier League like he did for us, and then everything. So he's getting at least 30 appearances a year, 100%. Like I say, I'd be if I was Man U, I wouldn't. It depends on his contract situation. I'm not sure what that is, but if he's got three years left of his deal, say, or more, I'd loan him out next season, 100%, and then his valuation will be definitely not knocked, in my opinion. He doesn't really get injured. He'll always look a Premier League, a minimum a mid-table Premier League player. So he wouldn't lose valuation by loaning him out for one more year and then selling him on if they thought so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just looking at in terms of Brandon Williams, what's going on in terms of his contract, because he did actually sign a 4-year deal with us. Just looking here when that is finishing, he signed a 4-year deal up till 2024-25 season. So really, we could benefit him on going on loan at least once, just to see on how that really goes on. Another team where I do think he could work at would be potentially Brighton. especially knowing where Brighton did finish in the league. And I think Graham Potter's quite good at using the youth, just as Dean Smith is, because we've seen Dean Smith in terms of, especially at Aston Villa, what he done with Jacob Ramsey. I think Jacob Ramsey's been absolutely superb. So he's had a great mentor in terms of Dean Smith, and I think Graham Potter would be a manager who could take him that next step forward.
Yeah, and they kind of play five at the back, don't they? So again, could be a little bit of a different kind of outlook for him. See how he is as a wing back. I know that's not the Ten Hag way of playing, but it's again another string to the bow, isn't it? And kind of showing what he can offer. Let's look at England now. If he's ever, don't know if he'll ever get to that level, but they regularly play back five at the minute with Southgate and all of that sort of thing. So yeah, it's one of those where you think that kind of club is, like you say, I think you're spot on. A Brighton or a Wolves, someone like that who aren't going to get relegated. Play good football. Are going to be able to show him a way of developing in different ways, like you say, a lot more on the ball with Brighton. I think that'll be a perfect move for him, definitely.
Yeah, I've seen that he has of course came into the England squad already, but only for the under-21s. Do you think he's only made like 3 appearances, so do you think he's good enough to get into that under-21s at least, see how he gets on there again?
Yeah, 21s, I don't see why not. I think that full England squad, the choices there are mad, aren't they? Trent, Reece James, Kyle Walker could still play there. They're just free off the top of my head.
As well.
Left back is an option potentially. Chilwell's very good. Luke Shaw, more than me, can be very, very inconsistent at the best of times. I don't know whether James Justin played there obviously last weekend and kind of showed how a right-footed left back can play. I think he needs a lot more developing before he's at that stage, but I'd never write him off. I think the one thing with him is you can never back against him because he A, backs himself, but B, puts in the work to make sure he's as can reach the highest ability he can. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. Hey there to Renee. I hope you're well. Before we do wrap up, I just wanted to see on what the best formation is for Brandon Williams, because I know you've changed the formation a couple of times at Norwich this season. Is it because of the managers you did change it?
Yeah. So it's injuries, managers. There's been a lot of kind of trying to just win a game. There's been a lot of it at times. I'd say, to be honest, I can't rate him too much as a wing back at the minute because I haven't seen him enough there. In that flat back four, though, he's absolutely fine. He's not one of those who you go, he has to have kind of 3 defenders centrally because he can't defend. He can defend. He can be in a back four. He can get forward well enough. There's no doubt in my mind he can do that. I think wing back's a little bit different. I think he does have the engine for it. I think he's one of the fittest players we had at Norwich in terms of being able to durability. He didn't get injured much. Like I said, I think there was one injury where he missed a couple of games. That was about it. And for a player who's kind of as combative as he is, he has to kind of be, physically ready because he does love a challenge.
And if, for example, you did go in a back three, because I know you'd have mentioned a wing back, do you think he would be good enough to play as a left centre back?
I don't see him as that. I think to be fair, he is tall enough. I don't know. I think that's a completely different position. I think he's got almost too much energy and too much kind of desire to go forwards and try and win that ball to be a left centre back to start off with. I think maybe as his career goes on, he can maybe be moulded there. Not yet. I think he needs to improve that defensive side of his game to be able to do that. And I think you take away from his game if you played him there. But it is potential in the future.
Yeah. We'll wrap it up here anyway. Thank you so much, Jacob, for coming on and taking the time to discuss about Brandon Williams. It's been a great show.
No worries. Absolute pleasure. And hopefully he does as well for you as he can, or if not, then he moves on. But yeah, he's been great to have. And thanks for having me on. Much appreciated.
Thank you so much. Would you like to shout out your socials as well?
Yeah. Canary Cast everywhere. So if you want to see some random guys shout about Norwich and moan about that, hopefully next season's a little bit better and we'll just yo-yo back again to play you again next year, but we'll wait and see. Canary Cast everywhere. So yeah, thanks for that little plug. Cheers.
Who knows? We might make a reunion, not this season, but next season.
You never know. We keep popping We keep hopping back and forth, so probably.
I'll see you next year, and then I'll see you in 2 years' time. Who knows?
Exactly. More often than not, yeah. Cheers. Thanks for having me, Maisy. Appreciate it.
It's okay. I've put your link in the description below anyway. So if you do want to subscribe to Jacob's channel, you can do. It's all there in the description. I'll be next live myself later on in the week. I'll be doing my Euro predictions. So I'll see you all very, very soon. It's a goodbye for now.